Awesome. Thanks, Rashab. Thank you to everybody. I think we're just going to wait just to let a few more people into the call. And then from there, we will get the ball rolling. Seems like everybody's working from home today, eh, Reg?
I am. Terry, you're in the office, aren't you?
I am. Someone's got to be, you know?
Yeah.
Somebody's got to mind the store.
That's what happens once you get up there. It's like we have people that just end up once you're in that director role, people just you have to be in the office, so it seems. But I think we're just at 3 minutes after 2, so I think we can go ahead and get started with the webinar. So I'm just gonna say and let people trickle in. But we'll get started with introductions, and thank you all for to our panelists for making time for this webinar today. This is being put on by the Municipal Engineers Association's Young Professionals Committee. We have today 4 experienced municipal engineering panelists with us who are going to give us a high-level overview of their experience in the municipal engineering field, and then potentially some advice that other engineers could apply, both in career progress and then just in project planning for municipal engineering. And so I'll high-level rundown for the agenda for today. We're hoping to go through, we'll go through introductions and then some preset questions. For anybody on the call, please feel free to type your questions into the chat, and we're hoping to get to audience-specific questions at the end of the call. So please type in throughout the recording, and we will go from there, introducing our panelists one by one, alphabetical by last name. We have Taylor Crinklaw. Taylor is a licensed professional engineer with nearly 20 years of experience. He's transitioned from environmental engineering to municipal engineering, and he's worked with various clients, including in the municipal, provincial, and federal governments, developers, Indigenous communities. And in 2015, he transitioned to municipal engineering as a project engineer for the city of Stratford. And then in 2019, became the director of public works for the city of Woodstock. And in 2021, transitioned back to the city of Stratford, where he's currently working as their director of infrastructure services. Taylor's experience includes project management, tendering, preparation, consultant selection, and contract administration. He's currently involved with the Municipal Engineers Association at the executive level. Moving next to Amanda Froese. Amanda is a licensed Welcome, Amanda. Amanda is a licensed professional engineer with a degree in environmental and civil engineering. She's worked as a consultant for Maritech Engineering and later spent 17 years at Saugeen Shores municipality as their director of infrastructure and development services, where she was responsible for strategic direction, oversight, and for public works, engineering, environmental, and planning services. Amanda is a fellow of Engineers Canada, a member of the Order of Honor with Professional Engineers Ontario, and has volunteered as an executive committee member with the Municipal Engineers Association. She's also been involved in volunteering with the Grand River chapter of PEO, advocating for improved chapter programming and networking events. In 2023, she returned to the private sector as a senior project engineer with GM Blue Plan, now GEI, where she leads a team of 34 engineers and technical staff in various sectors. Terry Gaiman is a professional engineer with us who has a degree in civil engineering from the University of Waterloo. His experience includes work in both the private and public sector and consulting engineering fields and he's currently working as the general manager of engineering and transportation services and city engineer for the city of Guelph. Throughout his career, he's been successfully delivered on multidisciplinary projects and led multidisciplinary teams. His experience in engineering leadership, master's planning, asset management, project management, capital budget strategy, linear infrastructure design, construction programming, transportation planning, engineering, contaminated site management, and environmental engineering. He's a respected community builder, strategic thinker who is focused on planning and building for the future. And last but not least, we have Reg Russram. Reg is a professional engineer with extensive leadership experience in municipal engineering and infrastructure planning, as well as operations, and he's committed to building sustainable communities. Reg has gained technical training at the University of Waterloo and has a master's in business administration from Wilfrid Laurier University. He's a past president of the Municipal Engineers Association and the Ontario Waterworks Association. Reg has held leadership positions in various municipalities, including the City of Kitchener, the Region of Waterloo, the Town of Blue Mountains, and is currently with the City of Guelph as their Manager of Design and Construction Engineering and Transportation Services. So welcome everyone, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Jumping into questions for what we're hoping to discuss today. I'm going to jump to you, Reg, as far as engineering and engineering planning. What do you think right now are the most important skills that someone would need to succeed in the municipal engineering world?
Well, that's a good question, Evan. When I'm talking with others and about this, I tend to say, make sure you're having a wide perspective on your projects. Don't think about your projects in isolation. Consider how they fit into all the other activities in your municipality. What's the impact on other construction projects, traffic management? That's the construction side. Equally important, you got to think about how your project fits with everything else that makes a municipality thrive. Is that economic development? What's your project's effect on a business? Planning. What's your effect on growth? How are you enabling growth to happen within your municipality? Think about transit, everything else. So what I'm trying to say there is that one of the important skills in municipal engineering is walking in with your eyes open, and don't wear your blinders that often we see, essentially oftentimes within the private sector, where they're only thinking about the project. Us that work in municipal world have to be much wider viewpoint in what's going on. Another thing, be politically aware. Like it or not, you're working in an environment that is often governed by feelings and perceptions and philosophies. Try to understand what is motivating those opinions to best serve your municipality and achieve your goals. I didn't get into engineering to work with people, but it's critically important to your success. Understand that, we're all different and we come from different places. That applies to when you're speaking in the public, with stakeholders, with your team members. You need to meet people where they are. We're talking about engineers. It's generally not a strong strength of ours that those drawn to engineering, but it's something you need to work on and develop and think about. If you think about those folks that have been most influential in your career or in your town or your city, it's likely not their technical skills that first come to mind. It's their abilities to motivate and draw others to themselves to achieve a common goal. People aren't easy. Here's a bit of career advice that I have to say is know when you don't fit. If you want to succeed in municipal engineering, maybe at times you don't fit the municipality doesn't fit you. Don't be afraid to get off the bus if it's not in your best interest. If you're not succeeding, your employer's not succeeding, I've told people not everybody fits everywhere. You know, do your research and find what fits you so that you can succeed at municipal engineering on whatever your grounds are. So, Evan, those are some quick thoughts on that.
Thanks, Reg. Awesome. Amanda, do you have anything to potentially add on skills specifically that people should be looking to hone or develop in this field?
Sure. Thanks for sharing the question, Reg. Lots of good points there. And just to build on that, when I first came into municipal, the CEO told me to know which battles to fight and which ones not to fight. That's water flows downhill. Those things are all great. Technical engineering is engineering, but you have to decide which ones are more important and why. So to me, it might be more important to do the main street and get that upgraded, but it may be more important to council to do something else. So don't take it personally when council picks their project over your project. They're trying to make their constituents happy. There's more of a push from them to do it. So it has nothing to do about your decision making. It's about the other 8,000 people in your town and what they want and what they need. But when you're doing that, it's really important to be out in the community and not complaining that they didn't pick your project, right? Like, you have to wear the smile. Yes, this was a wise decision, and then do your best on what decision council made. So the same CEO said to me once, our job is to implement the projects of a well-educated council. So there's two parts to that. We as the engineers need to educate them properly. This is why we want to do these things, and this is why this is needed, and these are the benefits to the community. And then whichever ones they pick, then you walk that walk and do it to the best of your abilities. He referred to it as political acumen, and it was something that I carried through my years at the town.
Excellent. Thank you both for that. So sounds like trying to remember to see the big picture and be politically aware and wanting to just always stay connected with like the people in the municipalities that we're working in. Taylor, Terry, did you guys have anything you wanted to add before we moved on to like our next question?
I'll just add one small bit there in terms of just expanding upon what Reg mentioned. I think one of the things coming from my consultant days, I wasn't necessarily as sharp as I could have been in terms of my regulatory compliance, but I find working for the municipality that the kind of the buck stops at you, and it's very important that you understand fulsomely the regulations and how they apply to your specific career, but as well as any project you're working on, how other forms of regulations may get involved in your project. There's no real guarantee that anyone's looking out for you and your project to make sure that it's done correctly. But yeah, so just staying honed in on regulations as they apply and try to keep updated as they all change.
Do you have any advice for how to stay updated on those regs, Taylor? Because it seems like there's lots of them that we have to keep up with.
Yeah, one thing I didn't learn until later on my career, and forget the exact title of the site, but there's an environmental registry through the Ministry of Environment, Climate and Parks that any new changes that are happening through various regulations are updated and maintained through that, and they'll actually send you an email. So signing up for those regs that are changing, and then the province will send you out updates as they happen, so that way you're up to date and to speed on what changes are happening in your field.
Awesome, it's good to know.
And then always staying involved in your municipal engineers association group, because we do like to push out regular updates that are happening in our field. So
that's a great one. That's a consultant, Taylor, getting the news feeds from the municipality. That's great to see what other departments from Public Works, what community services putting out there, so you can sort of time what you're doing. You can see where their open houses are, what surveys they're doing, and just know. So when you're on the street and someone says, hey, you work for the town, did you hear about this? You actually have heard about it beforehand.
That's really helpful. Yeah, thank you. I've also been told, I just recently found out about the Ontario Gazette is apparently another tool you can use to like help see what changes are happening in regulation, but we can talk about that later. Terry, what would you say are some common traits or signs that would make a successful candidate for a project manager or EIT position?
Yeah, thanks, Evan, and hello, everyone. And I thought about adding on to that last question, but I think this question kind of sets up the same types of things I would have wanted to cover. So I think, for me, when you talk about sort of individual skills from a project engineer, project manager perspective, there's a whole, myriad of things that can lead to success. Of course, you have to have, the technical engineering elements correct. There's no doubt about that. You have to have, of course, those good project management skills. You always hear scope, schedule, budget. Those are real things for good, important reasons. But then, beyond that, there's a whole bunch of soft skills that certainly as like a hiring manager that I look for in people, right? It starts for me, like first and foremost, like what is your attitude like, right? If you are bringing an open, sort of positive frame of mind to the table, your attitude is one where, you're bringing that positivity. It's apparent that you're easy to work with, that you can work in a team setting, right? Because let's be honest, I think one of those projects that we deliver requires an entire team of people to deliver on that. And, to Reg's point a minute ago, if you zoom out a little bit, you're working with the planning department, or you're working with operations, or you're working with, you name it, asset management, whatever the role may be. There has to be this sort of professionalism and teamwork attitude that comes to kind of success like that. Because you want it to be easy to have people work with you. You want people to walk away from working with you with that feeling of like, it was really great to work with, Evan today, and I look forward to working with Evan again, right? Especially if your career goals are aligned with like moving, sort of up in a corporate ladder, for example, right? So you have to leave that impression with people that, working with you is a positive experience, and that you're bringing those kinds of things to the table. Of course, as you gain more experience, there's other things that help round out a project. I think another, angle Reg was getting at a minute ago, like beyond the technical, what are those business development opportunities? What is the customer service angle, that has to go into delivering something? And then for a lot of our municipal work, it's about communication and community engagement. And, that's not engineering, so to speak, but it is very important in terms of doing the engineering work correctly, right? And delivering it successfully. So, bring in those communication skills, those people skills, that sort of broader view, I think, to the project will really help in that delivery and really help people's experience of you delivering that work.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Terry. Yeah, people always they don't always remember what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add on that in terms of certain traits that like would make a successful project manager or project engineer?
I think
Amanda, I see you unmute yourself.
I'd say, building on that with Terry, just being self-aware of how you present yourself and who your audience is. So you need to watch tone, facial expressions, body language, and there's lots of things you can do online to try to find out how you present yourself, because you want the public to recognize you as a peer, as someone that cares as much as they do about their community, that is trying to do the best for their community. You don't want to come across as someone who is a technical expert, or you don't want to show anything that would be seen as arrogance or make them feel like you think you're better than them or you're smarter than them. You want them to feel like they're the important person in the conversation, and that's how you get them to buy into your project and help you sell it to the rest of the community, obviously.
I wonder if this is one of the first engineering specific panelists where we've said you don't want to be a technical expert. All right. Reg, I see you have your hand up. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, I do. And if you're talking about being a candidate for, a project, and you're interviewing for a position, do your homework. Know who your potential employer is. Understand, do the boring stuff. Read their strat plan. Pull out what projects they're working on. Have a look at the budget. See how much, how are they doing with respect. Doing that bit of homework goes a long way when you're in an interview situation, and you can demonstrate the knowledge. You know, Google the person who's going to be interviewing, understand their background, go find their LinkedIn. You know, that just takes work, but it amazes me how many people come in technically strong, but haven't done that basic level of work. But if I got two candidates that are strong, one that's done this background work and is passionate for the role, they're going to get it. I'll pass
Yeah.
it to Terry.
One of the beautiful parts of our job is everything's public, so you can actually see like a capital budget ahead of time and see what publics have been or what projects are posted.
Mm-hmm.
Terry.
Yeah, just want to pick up on that notion from a moment ago that Amanda brought up around, you know, not having to come across as a technical expert. I think it's a really hard thing for professional engineers to kind of do, especially people who are growing in their careers, to learn the nuance of what Amanda just said. So I've seen a number of people, you know, in my career who have really struggled with, you know, the idea that we need to talk to the general public like they're in grade 5, right? So you've done very good technical engineering work, you've designed something in a certain way, or you've risk analyzed something in a certain way, and it's all very technical, and then you have to say it like you're talking to, you know, a little kid so that everyone understands it. And people have had a hard time kind of getting there. And the ones that have been able to balance that technical proficiency with the ability to communicate in that other way are the ones that have had a lot of success in our municipality. And so it is certainly, I think, a really important point to try to be able to, like, again, be open-minded and let yourself get there and know that you're still doing the right professional engineering. But there's this whole community approach that has to kind of take precedent in terms of how do you engage and explain and communicate that great work that you are doing without it feeling like you're losing something by not, you know, speaking like a true engineer, so to speak. So anyways, I just have seen it a fair bit, Amanda, and I think it was a really good point.
Yeah, do you just to close on that, Terry, do you have any suggestions on how somebody might actively try and cultivate that skill? Because I know from a hiring manager's perspective, you might think this is what we like to see, but if somebody's trying to develop that, they may not know exactly how to improve or embrace that communication style.
If you're already in a role at a municipality and you're in a junior role, for example, then it, you know, certainly build relationships with your community engagement and communications teams, right? And be open-minded to the feedback that they're giving you, right? They're not trying to sort of dumb down your technical proficiency, but they are trying to help you successfully bring something through. So ask them questions, ask them why, you know, do that kind of work, and, you know, take advantage of the expertise that's already within your organization so that you can glean from that what you may. And then of course, if other challenges, if you know, you need to improve, say your you know, public speaking, those types of things, there's Toastmasters and other opportunities like that you can take advantage of course, to kind of get there. But for me, it's just like, again, just being willing to kind of take in other disciplines and apply them to what you're working on, really sets it up to, I would say, do it the right way, so to speak. So I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Amanda.
Yeah, my advice too would be just to go to open houses on your own time, like that are not your project. Go listen to what other people at your city are saying and how they're presenting it, and you'll pick up on what more senior engineers are saying and how they're selling it and how they're talking to different people. Mingle around, walk around, and see what questions people are asking at these open houses and how the staff are answering them.
Okay, that was very helpful. Thank you all. Okay, now getting into some more nitty-gritties about regulations. So there are an increasing number of regulations that municipal engineers need to manage. Some, but not all, include the Department of Fisheries of Ontario, Conservation Authority approvals, migratory bird, species at risk requirements, public and Indigenous consultation requirements, managing contract schedules, working around restrictions for vegetation removals or in-water works removals. It can be a full-time job just coordinating these seemingly non-engineering specific tasks. Do you have any suggestions on how to manage these requirements and stay optimistic about project delivery despite the many administrative heavy requirements that we have to do in our roles? Are there any volunteers that want to jump on this one? If not, perhaps Taylor, you can maybe speak to some of the regulation pieces.
Sure. I guess maybe I'll start off in terms of just larger projects in general, can include a dozen or more stakeholders. So I guess first and foremost, starting your planning early for projects or initiatives you know that are going to be fairly involved. Try to get everyone around the table as early as possible. People would rather have a bit of a fruitless meeting to ensure that they're not going to have any pitfalls in terms of consultation or engagement. So a few years back, I had a large trunk sewer project that had a significant amount of dewatering required. And I just set up meetings early with the DFO, our local conservation authority, our energy provider, all sorts of stakeholders, just to make sure that this project wouldn't be slowed by not having the appropriate permits or approvals to facilitate the initiative. And part of that goes to reaching out to the expert, to the people whose fields those directly impact, because they know their regulations or their requirements best. You may not always know it, so just asking questions doesn't hurt. And then similarly, just to throw Amanda in here, but feel free to develop strong networks of your peers. I've reached out to her several times in terms of example contracts for Indigenous consultation, which I'm glad she supplied me an example from her previous employer, which I was able to use to expedite a development project in my own city. Taking something that's already been half done is a lot easier than starting from scratch for a lot of these things too. So it's probably the start of this discussion. Glad to pass it on. You're on mute, Evan.
Sorry about that. Terry, would you like to add to Taylor's comments?
Yeah, I would. Thanks, Evan. You know, I think it's an interesting one, that whole loaded piece around all the different, you know, challenges that we have to balance to kind of deliver. And I think who better than professional engineers to do that work, right? You've got the right kind of training, the right kind of technical expertise, right? The right kind of project management skills, all the different things that are required to kind of get to that balanced sort of outcome. You know, that's exactly why we have, you know, processes like feasibility studies and EAs and things like that to help kind of work through all of the different aspects. But at the end of the day, you know, I actually struggle with a little bit around like the administrative titling there. Like, I actually think that is engineering. I think all of that is engineering. And I think it's important because I think that's what is required to do the job correctly. Right. And so at the end of the day, I don't actually personally view any of those things as administrative. I view them as part of the total package, right, in terms of delivering things. So maybe there's a bit of a reframing, right? Because at the end of the day, we are about the environment and public welfare, right, as professional engineers. So how does it affect the community? Who needs to know? Who needs to be educated? What about the business impacts? What about the environmental impacts? And, you know, I think gone are the days where we used to just get to say, you know, oh, we're doing construction, it's disruptive, thanks for your patience. I think we need to get at all of those other things and build them in to deliver them, I think, in a way that is expected of our profession.
Okay, thank you. Reg, would you like to add on that?
Yeah, I can just build a little bit on what Terry said, and said a lot of what I was thinking here. You got to embrace that work. It's part of the job to deliver a project. My one addition here is be realistic on timelines. Often I see people come in and say, oh, okay, we'll whip this off 3-4 months, a year at the most. No. You start anything with regulations, with utilities, add a year, land acquisition, all that sort of stuff. Just be realistic with your timelines and then over deliver. You know, connect with your regulators early and often. Just be organized. So it's part of the game. It's part of project delivery.
I wonder how much more important that realistic piece on timelines comes into play when you're communicating with counselors. Because we
Oh,
all know that like
it's quite
elected
important to lay
officials
out
want things
those-
built yesterday.
You got to lay out expectations as nice as you can. Don't just nod up and down and say, yeah, it's going to get done this year. It's not. And then because they're going out and telling their stakeholders and their community that, yeah, this will get done this year, believing you. No, if you go tell them it's going to be next year and they still go out and tell them it's going to be done this year, well, you've done your job. Remember, our role is to inform council, and then they make their own decisions, and we implement as to our best abilities.
All right, thanks for that, Reg. Amanda, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, just quickly, at Slugging Shores, we implemented a 3-year project window always. So year 1 would be pre-engineering, year 2 would be engineering, year 3 would be construction. So that gave that headway. So your counselors would believe in 3 years this project's coming, right? So, and then when there's ones that are going to be longer than 3 years, then you would have that in your 5 to 10 year capital plan and try to stick to that capital plan. So like if you're telling your supervisor this project should be done in 2024, then make sure that you have that right piece. So I'm going to do the survey in 2024, design 2025, construction 2026, and try to keep to your 5-year plan. That's councils go out and they sell that 5-year plan over and over again. So that's an important piece on how to do it. So realistic timelines that are well communicated.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for that. Moving on, looking at potential like opportunities or investments that engineers or EIT should be making for potential career advancement. If somebody's looking to advance their career, what investments from an educational or otherwise perspective would you suggest somebody look into, such as, potentially either especially if they're comparing like formal education, like a master's of applied science, a master's of engineering versus a master's of public administration versus an MBA versus a PMP. Terry, you already indicated some less formal education with mentioning Toastmasters, potentially like public speaking adventures. Is there any like formal education or informal that you would recommend somebody look at pursuing that would help them in their career or otherwise?
So I don't know if I'm the best person to ask this question because my views on it might not align with many people's here, but I'll share my views nonetheless, which is I don't think you need any of that stuff. And so the reason I say that is because I've never hired someone because they had an MPA or because they had a PMP, unless it was a specific, job requirement. I've hired people because they are proficient on the technical work that they have to do, but they have all the soft skills, right? So it's that other stuff that I was talking about before for me that matters, that you don't get through doing your master's in civil engineering, right? Like you need to be a team player, you need to be professional, you need to be open-minded, you need to be a good communicator. Like if you don't think that you have those skills, I would go and find opportunities to develop those things to help separate yourself from someone else. Because lots of people have their masters, lots of people have their MPA, lots of people have their MBAs. For the types of work we do in a municipal engineering setting, I just don't think that those things are required to make you stand out. But I might just have a different view than other people on the screen here, so I'd be interested to see what my colleagues think.
Yeah, Taylor, would you like to chime in there?
Yeah, maybe I'll step in first. I know probably Reg is itching to get in there too a little bit, but I think for me, I agree largely with Terry. The skill set for municipal practitioners tends to be a bit more of a generalist, so specific educational requirements are not a mandatory part of the job, though I think any kind of education or training overall improves your careers and abilities to do the job that you're doing. So I don't think any of it hurts. Just speaking for myself in terms of why I went through my Master's of Science in Environmental Engineering, at the time I went through it, I actually wanted to become the technical expert. And so being the technical expert, having your master's in science is one of the best avenues you can go through, because it just brings your skills and abilities in a very specific role. So for mine, it was hydrology. and water engineering to that next level. So the opportunities that led me down the road for that could be more very technical in nature. Those skills don't necessarily translate well into my daily job as a municipal practitioner. Probably more suited for, energy or postdoctorate kind of experience. So if you're looking to me more towards different skills ability in terms of like if you want to be a manager or director, and then I think some of those other educational experiences can help improve your ability to obtain those roles. But I'll leave next for Russ, or sorry, Reg, if he has any more comments he wants to add to it.
Oh, I can weigh in on this one. So through my career, I took probably the longest way around to a career in municipal engineering that I could. It was not a straight path. First I went to college, and then I went to university. Then I spent some time in the private sector. Then I took time out for about 3 years or more to run the family business. Finally, I went back to an MBA at Laurier. When somebody talks about this, should I be doing a master's or something? I tend to suggest somebody not think about a master's program till you at least work for a few years. Coming straight out of school, you may feel ready to roll into a master's, but many times you lack that practical experience you need to get the most out of a master's program. Never underestimate the value of real world experience. So here I'm going to go on a tangent.
Go for it.
Of all the career steps I take, I very much value the 3 or 4 years I spent as a site inspector. You learn so much getting mud on your boots. We can learn, you can do the book learning through engineering, and you can go to a master's program, but if you want to be a designer and a constructor of things, better be able to know how it's going to be done. Some of the most valuable people I've had on project teams are site inspectors and contractor administrators who can tell it like it is. Can this design be built and moreover maintained in the future or rebuilt? It's easy to draw lines, much harder to actually build and operate. So whenever I see contractor field fit, that raises my spidey sense. So what I'm saying is don't forget about real world practical experience. So now I'll get off my soapbox on that one and get back onto the question. So if you're thinking about a master's and where, what should I do post-secondary education? Think about where and what you want to do in the next 5 to 10 years, because after that, it's really not going to matter. So, if you want to be a technical expert like Taylor talked about, Masters of Engineering, Bachelors of Science, great. A generalist is a Master's of Business. That's what I did, because I was looking for that generalist. And actually, one of the reasons I took my Master's of Business was to work on my people side. It was not that I wanted to learn how to finance a business or anything like that. It was organizational behavior. It was change management. It was around human resources planning. That's where I knew I needed to build skills and get training on, was how to work with people. And if you want to get into municipal administration, you want to be a manager or department head. Hey, well, there's that Master's in Public Administration tape. Look it up. See if it works for you. If you're strong project management, there's that PMP course. I don't have mine. Again, maybe School of Hard Knocks, but a PMP can fit into parallel with any other just post-secondary training you're taking. And I'm almost seeing the PMP designation becoming almost a default requirement if you're planning to apply for a project management role. Any one of these post-secondary educations, it becomes a door opener, and it distinguishes you from another candidate. If you're a prospective employer or you're looking for a promotion within the same organization, they got 2 equal candidates. Here we've got somebody that did that extra effort to do a post-secondary degree. And can I say exactly what I learned coming out of my master's after 3.5 years? No, but it was all in all, it was part of my career growth. And another one I want to push on is get involved in industry associations. You know, I joined the MEA and the old WWA initially to gain knowledge, but stayed for the networking, the career growth, the opportunity to contribute to the industry in whatever value proposition you bring. Now, I'm partial to the MEA, but there's a lot of great associations out there. So my suggestion is to get involved with one of those, and you won't regret it. But so, Evan, I danced all over that question, so I'll let anybody else chime in on this thing.
Yeah, maybe just to circle back to close on for clarity, Reg, would you say that you have getting your MBA was helpful for you in your career and career progression?
Yeah. So within that first 5 years, it probably opened a couple of doors. But by the time I applied to the city of Guelph, it didn't matter anymore. Because I applied to, Terry interviewed me for Christ's sake. So you know what he values. So it was but I do think that's why I say, what do you want to do in the next 5 to 10 years? That's what's critical. Because I did play with the idea, did I want to be a technical wizard or a generalist? In the end, I thought a generalist is where my career was going to take me. So that's where I picked. And I really needed the people skill thing, as Terry can attest.
Yeah, it's very very helpful. Thank you all for that. Does anybody else have any thoughts on or things that they'd like to add regarding master's educations or even potential other avenues for continuous education, like industry association involvement, like Reg mentioned, or anything else? Oh, Amanda?
I'll do a quick plug for Good Roads and MEA courses. So as
Yes.
a junior engineer, going to Good Roads, taking the sewer water main inspection course, taking the contract management, the municipal law, those pieces will give you a great network, one of people to ask in other municipalities questions of, but also a really good foundation of understanding. And then the MEA, like the OPS and the MEA, those help you stay abreast with the things that are changing in the industry. And again, a great way to network. They're also a lot cheaper than an MBA or a master's in science. So those are what I would suggest of your younger grades or younger years, get into the Good Roads programs.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, well, hey, I'm going to plug another MEA initiative, and that is the MIT program. It's Municipal Infrastructure Technologist. Well, I can't remember what the name of it is exactly, but it's a designation. So if you take so many OGRA courses, so many MEA courses, you get this designation from the Municipal Engineers Association. That's just something else to add onto your resume. You've reached a bar of qualifications because you have spent time. Maybe it's a construction avenue, maybe it's a design avenue, but there are like 5 or 6 types of designations of courses to take. So little designations like that often just set you apart from the next one over.
Sorry, what was the name of that, Reg?
It's an MIT. You can go on the MEA's website,
Okay.
and you'll find it there under training.
When they hear MIT, they think of the school in Boston.
Yeah, I got kicked out of there once, so that's a different story. So but it's Municipal Infrastructure Technologists, and it's really geared to technicians, technologists, but I see a lot of engineering folks taking it as well, is to just grow your skills.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. Again, I'll just send a reminder, if anybody has any questions, please submit them in the chat for our panelists. But then moving on away from more of the technical questions and more just looking at work-life balance, hoping everybody can chime in on this. But what are some hobbies or activities that you do outside of work? And if you haven't, do you have any suggestions for how to manage work-life balance? Is there any volunteers that want to go first? Taylor?
I'll start and see who chimes in after this. But I guess for me, more so once I took on a more managerial role, my time has become a bit precious. I got 3 young kids, so here, there, and everywhere with activities. So more than anything else, the thing I've learned the last couple of years is that my hobbies now need to be scheduled. They don't come as easy as they used to be when I had no kids. So that's one of the difficulties I have. I've also started doing hobbies that require less time. Going out, spending a half day or a day away from the family isn't well received, but it's also more difficult to carve in time for that. So I've picked up things that I can do more quickly from my home. So the one thing I've picked up in the last couple of years is cycling, because I can just leave from my house, pick up a friend on the way out, and it's only an hour, and I'm back and got some good exercise, engage with some friends, and it's easy to do. So, but more than anything else, that just needs to be scheduled.
Good, thanks for that. Reg, do you have any points you'd like to add?
Yeah, I can do that, but first off, we recognize everybody's different. So you got to do whatever brings you joy and relaxation, because what I like is maybe something you don't like. You know, those with young families are also usually those that are in the most demanding stages of their careers, and I always make sure, absolutely make time for your kids. They grow amazingly quick, and you'll never get that time back. So manage your workload, say no if you have to, or reframe deadlines. Employers, especially municipalities, are getting much better at valuing work-life balance. And I find myself with my folks that work with me just telling them, no, you can't do all that. You've got to have a proper work-life balance. And if I see you working too much, something's wrong. You got too much on, or you're putting too much on yourself. So to me, good managers will give you that time. So personally, though, I'm motivated by accomplishments, especially hands-on work. Often with a couple of kids in tow, I've rebuilt 2 houses and constructed a few garages. You know, my job has been administrative probably for over 20 years now. So having an outlet to actually make something with your hands was important to me. So that's what banging nails is, what, you know, brings me joy. And for something that's not engineering focused or building or construction, I play in a jazz big band and a concert band, to use a totally different part of my brain. I'm there. It totally takes me away from engineering and construction and any of that sort of thing. It's just another segment of my head that I like to use.
That's cool. What do you play?
Oh, trombone.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
We have to set it like
Oh no, there's no.
we have to set you up a gig
band.
somewhere so we can go watch you play. Very cool.
Yeah. Oh no.
Awesome. Okay, that's those are really helpful points, Reg. Yeah, you remind me of it reminds me of something somebody told me once. It's like, you need to have something something that takes your mind off of work, outside of work.
Yeah.
And like actually
It
helps
totally
you focus
disconnects
more
you
when you're
from
in
your
the
day to
office.
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
And whatever it is for you, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Some people it's music, some people it's golf, some people it's reading, some people it's doing lots of different things. Awesome. Amanda?
Yeah, I'd just like to emphasize exercise, right? So I go to the gym 5 days a week and I run because it helps me take that edge off, right? Like if it's been a frustrating day, you can run it out on the path. But at the gym, it's all your own motivation. So finding someone to do that with, getting yourself out, even if it's walking the dog will make you go. Or you're meeting up with a friend, meet partway at a park and go for the walk. Be outside. There's lots of research now showing that the wilderness is great for mental health. And there's a lot of pressures on municipal engineers, right? You get told how to do your job, you get told what to do. And when you go out in the public, there's people there questioning your every move, right? I can remember putting in a stop sign and having neighbors get mad at me because I put a stop sign in our own neighborhood, right? And so you have to be able to find somewhere to walk off that aggression. And sometimes it's tough when you're living in the same small town as you're doing all these engineering decisions with. So find a place that you love, you enjoy, and be outside.
And maybe live in the next municipality over.
That could be advisable as well.
I know a lot of people in our municipality do. Awesome. Okay, thanks. Terry, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I think I would have said something really similar to what Amanda just said. It's stressful, so you gotta find ways to stay active and to kind of disconnect that way. So there's no other secret recipe from my perspective.
Okay.
Although I am surprised that Reg didn't fully say his favorite saying, which is say no and mean it. He almost said it, but say no and mean it, you do have to learn how to protect, yourself. And I've seen too many senior people in my career, maybe not manage themselves correctly and go down with things like strokes and worse. And so I would just highly recommend you find the best way you can to maintain that balance.
Yeah, it's very fair. Yeah, and thanks for the points, Reg and Taylor, about kids. I know, like in our municipality, like there's several of us, both in the planning and engineering side, that either have had or are having children within like the last 14, 18 months. And so that's my wife and I welcomed the birth of our first baby in February, and he's already like
Congratulations.
he's already gained, thank you. He's already gained like 50% of his weight. It's like for anything to grow that big that quickly, it's pretty miraculous. So yeah, no, thank you all for that. And then this is our last and final pre-scheduled question, unless we have any more in the chat. But for anybody, what would you say is the most satisfying part of your job? And maybe if there's no volunteers. Oh, Reg, did you wanna chime in?
Oh, sure, I can.
I saw that you were the one panelist not on mute.
Oh, okay, well, I'll do that. I just don't mute because I often forget. So satisfying part of my job. Well, job satisfaction has varied as I've moved through my career. Early on it was designing and building, making something you could walk up to and give it a kick, preparing the drawing sets and tenders, being hands-on infrastructure projects. That's what drove me early in my career. Mid-career, and as you move into more administrative, it was coordinating and planning future infrastructure and operations and learning and how to manage a team of people and motivations. Now I'm at the late stages of my career. And right now I get the most joy out of passing along what I've learned to those next generations of municipal engineers, encouraging confidence in folks that are working with me and watching them grow. So that's right now is where I find the most satisfaction, is when I see somebody that I've worked with over the last few years stepping up, taking on new challenges, working outside their comfort zone, succeeding, sometimes maybe not, and that's okay. But that's what's bringing me joy right now.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Amanda?
That's so true, Reg. I was gonna say the most satisfying thing for me right now is watching people that worked under me go take the jobs as they progress up. And then so where I just left, the last municipality I left, the person that I had been working with over 5 years took that job, right? And so for me, I'm so proud that I led a way that he would want to follow in those footsteps, and so proud of the work that he's doing now. So that's right now my most satisfying piece. But as a younger engineer, the most satisfying thing for me was being able to take a hard sell to council and getting 8 of the 9 councillors to put their hand up and vote in favor of what I wanted, even though it wasn't necessarily what the public had presented as what they wanted. I was able to get the right answer for the municipality. And then you drive by that scene, so you know where that stop sign was put in. Like, these people didn't want it, but the kids walking to school are safer because I won that battle. That was one of the battles I picked to fight, and it's better for the community.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing the story there, Amanda. Terry?
Yeah, I think it's certainly similar to Reg and Amanda in terms of the back half of your career and the mentoring piece and helping kind of people have some success has been great. The younger years, it was just about those bits and pieces of achievement, like Reg is saying. You worked hard and demonstrated to your employer that you could handle something, and then you got the next project and the next project and the next project, and kind of grew yourself that way. It was great. But I was in consulting for the first 10 years, loved it, learned a lot, but also missed the tangible benefits of the work. So you'd fly on a plane somewhere and do something and fly home and never see that project again. Whereas now in the municipal sector, that sense of community building, that sense of kind of pride that you can get as a municipal engineer in terms of like the work that you've done to plan and design and build a city, you know, that you can see the public enjoying, that you can see the city thriving. There is a ton of reward in that from my perspective, and a ton that you can kind of pull a team together around that sort of central idea. And so I don't know, that helps drive culture and some of the other things I really like working on. And so for me, that kind of community building piece is a big one.
Excellent. Thanks, Terry. Taylor, did you have any final thoughts on job satisfaction and where you're currently gaining job satisfaction from?
I think Amanda and Terry largely nailed it from my perspective as well. I mean, part of the reason why I moved back to the city where I do live in, there is some benefit in there because it's intentionally building the community that I currently live in, right? So any of the changes that I, for lack of better words, fight to have or push forward are things that I think make my community better. So it's worth the effort, and it definitely helps motivate me. So, and I guess the other part too is just that, as opposed to my consulting days, it's not bottom line focus. It's people and community focused are the main driving factors, which I do appreciate being a part of. So.
Excellent. Okay, I thank you all very much for your time. I don't see any questions in the chat, so I guess we just hit on everything. And did anybody have any final or closing thoughts that you might want to participate to just other municipal engineers who might be like less experienced for things that we should potentially just try and apply both in our careers? Or like Reg, you mentioned how like the early part of your career, like once like before, what you were trying to focus on was maintain motivation, both like for yourself and then other engineers. Does anybody have any thoughts on that you'd like to add for like a younger engineer to stay motivated and stay aware of? And then Terry, if you don't, Terry has his hand up, so Terry, perhaps you could chime in on some final thoughts.
Well, I think the one thing I would say that I didn't get to mention in any of the questions was just around the idea that at the early parts of your career, just put your hand up. Put your hand up and say yes. Take on whatever opportunity there is there. Even if you're like, I don't know if I can do it, like just do it, right? Put your hand up, say yes, take it on, see and show what you can do, and then, you know, work hard at the beginning of your career. Just work hard, and you have no idea what doors it will open. And I promise you it will open many. So just take it on and put your hand up and go for it, I think is one thing you really got to take with you from here on out.
Excellent, thank you.
I want to build on that discussion a little bit as well. Like a young person in their career, you got to chart your path. You know, you can somewhat rely on blind luck, but you can make your own luck by being a little more assertive and showing that confidence. Like Terry says, stick your hand up, or find that mentor. Find somebody who can help you navigate through some of the municipal world. You know, get to know your organization, figure out who is in those positions of power, and make connections with them. Informally at first, maybe you can build a relationship. Maybe your municipality has a formal mentoring type of a process. The MEA does mentoring. I don't think we ran one this year, but we should. Where you can get connected with a senior engineer. I think Amanda and both and I have done that mentoring program. So reach out, look around, find those opportunities. You can't just rely on it coming to you. So you got to be proactive.
Okay, thank you. We did just have a question in the chat about if anybody has any suggestions on how to navigate through the EA legislative changes, I should say.
So unfortunately, I think that's my question. One of the hats I wear is I'm on the MEA's Municipal Class A EA Committee, as we try and figure out what the province is up to. So we do know that the province introduced back in February comments on what's called the Municipal Project Assessment Process, MPAP for short. So that is in the queue. The MEA expects that legislation to drop sometime, and at some point we will have MPAP to work with. Until that time, we still have the municipal class EA process, as is where is. So until it's revoked, it's still in place. And people have asked me, do I start an EA? Do I hold off? Get started. Because there is a transition process. When the MPAP comes through, there will be the abilities for, if you've started an EA, you've sent out your notice of commencement already, and you're partway through your study, and then the MPAP drops, and you don't have to do it anymore. You don't have to do the class EA process. Then you can write another notice and say, oh, guess what? We're exempt, but under this new act. And then you can craft the rest of that project the way you wish to get it done. But I would not encourage people to hold off starting infrastructure planning work, waiting for MPAP, because, it could be Monday, it could be a month from now, it could be next year. We really don't know when the province is going to drop this piece of legislation. The only part I would say is think about it if you are going to file a notice of completion. Because once you file your notice of completion, you're locked to the municipal class EA process. So that is the only proviso I would say there. If you've got a fairly contentious EA that you think you're going to get a section 16 on, and you don't want to live that adventure, maybe hold off if you can. If not, and I've never been afraid to step into it. So, I would probably drop that notice of completion and then just keep it moving, because again, you never know what the province is going to be up to with it. I'll also say, and put a plug in for the MEA, is we're going to have a lot of training coming out around this new MPAP process whenever it does land. We are also getting into the starting of rewriting the that municipal class EA guidelines, or the user guide that was produced in last September. So we will be rewriting that around whatever this new process looks like. And for those that have bought that version or still want to buy that version, go ahead, because you will get an update at no charge. Maybe we'll shipping costs, but the document will be at no cost. So the what else are the key messages I want to give on this? Not much. Don't take the brakes off projects just waiting for MPAP. Just keep her going now, and then wait for training and that new user guide. So once the regulation drops, we've compiled a group of experts right now. We're essentially sitting around waiting for whenever this regulation drops. We'll start putting together that user guide. We'll do some pre-work on what we know, and then we'll craft that document, and we hope to have it out in time for the end of the year, just in time for Christmas shopping.
I'm gonna throw that book at anybody if they get it to me as a Christmas gift. I'm sure. I hope my wife's not listening. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any burning thing to add regarding EA or EA management before we close? Okay, seeing no hands, I will thank you all
Oh,
very
there's
much.
another question here.
Oh, do you recommend switching from consulting to presumably municipal engineering or a municipal employer?
Want me to start that one, since I went from consulting to municipal back to consulting?
That sounds great. Go for it, Amanda.
I would say you'll find your passion. Whichever one you like better, do. Right? Don't argue with yourself. If you're in municipal right now and you hate it, leave. If you're in consulting right now and you hate it, leave. But there's no harm in trying both. Like, bringing my consulting experience into the town was great. Like, I knew where developers were coming from, and being in charge of the development piece, I could see that, and I could work with them and create the guidelines and the processes, and knowing both sides of it. And now coming back, it's the same. I can apply my knowledge of how you work with council, how you work with with budgets and public, into my consulting piece. So in your career, I think you should take the time to do both.
Great. Terry, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I've also done both. I did about 10 years in consulting and now I'm about 10 years into municipal. And while I really enjoyed both, they both have pros and cons to Amanda's point, right? In terms of, you know, either variety in the work or work-life balance or those types of things. But the one thing that I do think for young people to consider is in consulting, you can have, I think, a bit more exposure early on in your career and you can get a bit more early access to leadership opportunities, or at least that was my experience. And so in a municipality, I do think leadership opportunities are competitive and maybe fewer and further in between, given the structure and the nature of an organization like a municipality. Whereas in consulting, you know, there's a little bit different pace to growth and the organic sort of movement you can make early in your career. And so for me, I found the leadership opportunity stronger in consulting as a entry level sort of opportunity that I was able to then bring to the municipal sector and grow from there. So I'm thankful for the work and efforts from the first 10 years of my life. I just don't think I could have kept the pace up forever. So good for you, Amanda, for going back. But for me, it's certainly that sort of back to life balance and protecting your own health, that was a big decision for me.
Yeah. It's a little bit, might be a little bit more relaxing, not having to worry about a timesheet. Okay. All right. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add on that?
Evan, if I could, I did spend time in the private sector as well, and it's a value discussion. Like where you best. I couldn't hold a budget in the private sector to save my life. I was working nights for free, so that was enough for me to. That was not going to be my gig in my world. So I got out. The other thing I wanted to mention was I mentioned the MIT program before that the Municipal Engineers puts on. It's called the Municipal Infrastructure Training Certification Program. So, Municipal Infrastructure Training Certification. So go on to the MEA website, look that up, and that provides, again, look at the options that are available to you to get that base of knowledge on 6 or 7 courses in each area.
All right. Thanks for that, Reg. All right. I think we'll call it at that. So I'll just say a big thank you to everybody for making time for this. We've had some on and back and forth discussion for a little while trying to pull this together. So it's nice to finally have our event executed. So thank you again, Taylor, Amanda, Terry, and Reg for making time for this. We encourage everybody to, the recording will be posted on MEA's website if anybody wants to go back and reference this and potentially get in contact with one of our panelists. Thank you all for making time for this as a volunteer endeavor. I hope you all have a good afternoon, and I hope everybody who was able to attend was able to find some value in the discussion today.
Thank you very much, Evan, for putting this on.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Bye now.